All right, guys. Given that the previous video was very short, we're going to make a quick video to follow up. So now that we have everything set up, we want to look at this episode being about animating. So animating our character, right? So again, welcome to the channel. If you're new here and you enjoy the content, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are returning, leave a like as well, comment, subscribe, show me some of the creations that you're making from this tutorial series. I'd love to see them, so you can just show them to me, and I will check them out, and we can move together forward at the same time. So I'm looking forward to seeing some projects. So if you are following this series, again, I appreciate the support. I can't say it enough. Yeah, so thank you so much for all the support that you've shown so far. Highly appreciate it. So let's get started into today's episode. Today's episode is going to be very interesting because we're going to do a few things. So first things first, we're going to get rid of the capsule. We're not going to have the capsule anymore. Okay, we're not going to have the capsule anymore. That's the first thing. We're going to bring in a character. We're going to bring in some animations, and then we're going to animate our character. That's for today. So we're going to create a new script, which we're going to call the animator controller, or animator. Let's call it animator handler, because it will be handling most of our animations. And then we'll create a new animator controller. So there are different types of ways that you do animations. So we're going to go with the controller rather than just the animation, because we could just say animation and say play this animation at this time. But I'm going to show you the controller method, which I prefer. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so let's get started. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just get started. So I'm going to open my browser here. So window. Okay, I'm going to bring that there. We're going to go to the Unity. I'll leave a link to these assets that we're going to use. They're free, so we just get them from the asset store. So we're going to come here and say low poly character. Okay, we're going to come where it says sort by up here. So this top part where it says sort by, we'll sort by from low to high, right? Then we'll get this guy. So code word game assets, low poly universal characters. So you click here, I already have it. Then you can add it. So once you click here, you open it, you will have add to my assets there. So you can just click that and it will add it. And then we're also going to get the animations. So there are some free animations on the asset store, so I'm not going to use any of the assets that I paid for now. We'll go with the free ones so that we are all together. So we can go to, let's see, character animations, and then we're going to look for, let's actually say RPG character, and let's say like RPG animations, not animations, I don't know what that is. Animations. So this guy here, the 32 RPG animations as well. You come, you do the same, and you add it to your assets. Then once both of those have been added to your assets, we go back to Unity. Then we go to Window Package Manager. And then this time around, you are on registry like that. So we're going to go to My Assets. So if it's your first time using Unity, those should be the only assets you have. but if you've been using Unity for some time and you've bought a bunch of assets, you should have a bunch of assets. So we're going to start with the universal, so low poly universal character controller. Then you can just download, and then once you're done downloading, import and re-download will show. And then there is also the free, not that one. We're also going to go to a RPG animation. So just type RPG anim, and then this guy. You also download and then import. Once you are done downloading and importing those guys, so when you hit import, you get a dialog with a lot of stuff if you haven't imported it yet. And then let me just show you how the dialog looks so that you can do that. You will get something like that. And then you can just hit import down here. Okay? So for both of them, for downloads, you just get a button like that. You can download. So once you have done that and you have all the assets, the next thing is going to be, you come over here. This is the universal character. So in your case, once you come to prefabs and you click one of them, you will see that they'll be pink. So to change the material and apply the correct materials, you come to window and then rendering, and then you come to render pipeline converter. So you again, window, rendering, render pipeline converter, then you select materials, then you'll say initialize and convert, and your materials will be converted to perp or URP, and you'll be done. You're good to go. So next we're going to select a character to use. So there are many that have been given, as you can see. There are plenty. Like this guy as well. So you can just pick any. I'm going to go with this girl. So we'll bring her into the world right there. Then we'll just zero her out. That 0, 0, and 0, so that she's in the center of our capsule here. So we're going to remove our little cubes here. We don't need them anymore. We already showed what we wanted to show in the previous episode. Okay. So we have the girl inside the cube, or inside the capsule, I mean. We're going to come into MC there, and then we're going to go into, we're going to drop in her into player, right? Into player. Remember, don't drop her into MC, drop her into player. Then you can just delete the capsule collider. We don't need it anymore. So we have that character like that. So now let's change some few things on player here. So for starters, we can see that our collider is quite big. So let's change the height here to 1.8. I already tested it for this particular character, so it works well. And then we could just let's say look at her and zero her there. Okay, so that when we look at that, okay, we can see that she's right in the air. All right, let's bring her down to the ground. There we go. She's on the ground. Her feet are touching the ground, which is what we want. Then we can just change the center of our collider here, of our character collider. So we can just move it. So you moved on the y-axis to move it up and down. So we want it to go up a bit, up to there. That's pretty good. Then for the radius, it's kind of too big right now. Let's go for 0.35. 0.35, that looks fine. Fine. Okay, so this green outline is the collider. So every object has got a collider. So in this case, this green outline is the collider that we're going to use for the character. Okay, so once we have that done, we click on our character here, and then you can see here where it says controller, we don't have anything. So we do not have a controller at the moment. So first of all, let's just unpack this, because I want us, when we pack it as a prefab, it should all be packed as one, not prefabs inside prefabs. So we're going now to come to assets, and then so we'll come to assets and then we'll go into our player controls. Then right here where we've got this, create a new folder, and then we're going to say animations. Then inside animations we're going to create a new animator controller, and we'll call that humanoid. So you call that humanoid like that. Okay, you call that humanoid like that. Then we're going to create humanoid because we're going to use it for different characters. So any character that's humanoid, you could use it, but we might also create for them their own different types. But for now, let's go with that. Or you can name it main character, it doesn't matter. So now we go to player, and then we go to the actual model. So this FAA002, or you can just click it. So like that, where the animator is sitting. Okay, so remember FAA02 in my case, or whatever model you selected, the name, where the animator component is sitting, we're going to now drag our humanoid animator controller into the controller right there, like that. Okay, now once that is done, we're going to double click the humanoid controller to open it up, to open up the animator, to open up the animator itself. So let's just bring it so that we make it bigger like that. Now what we have here is the entry and the exit and any state. So from entry we want to go into something, all right, and then exit through something. So normally let me show you something. We could say create state, and we could say an empty state, and then we could say idle, right? And then you could say from idle we're going to make transition. So let's create another state here. Let's say empty state, and then we're going to say walk. Okay, so now you could say from idle make transition to walk, and then you could give it parameters which force that change here. So you could say you'd have a boolean parameter here which says is walking, and as soon as is walking is activated, we could go to the walk animation, and then you could have a transition back which says as soon as the boolean is walking is false, we come back to the idle. Okay, that would be one way of doing things, but we're going to do that for other things. But for the locomotion, we're going to use what we call a blend tree. Okay, we're going to use what is called a blend tree. All right, so that's what we're going to use. Instead of using individual states, we're going to use a blend tree because it can make us combine and different animations and blend them out to make them look more natural. All right, so let's come here and delete these guys. Then let's right click, create state, and then we're going to say from new blend tree. Right, we're going to do that. Then we'll call this blend tree locomotion. Right, so now from entry we're going to go straight into the locomotion blend tree. Now let's hit there. We've got this variable here, or this parameter I mean, which is called blend. We can change the name and say vertical. So remember, in our player controller we've got vertical and we've got horizontal float inputs that we are getting. So we'll be passing those here, and then we are going to add a float here, and then we're going to say horizontal like that. Okay, those are the two that we'll need. So now once we select the blend tree, so you click on it, on this side in the inspector you've got the blend type. So we're going to go with the 2D freeform Cartesian. It just makes it easier for us to it gives us more control over how we want our blend the animations to be blended. So if we go with directional, here like 2D freeform directional, this would make the animations depend on the direction, or if we give it a parameter, they will depend on the parameter. Whereas Cartesian, they are more versatile, and we can handle animations that depend on multiple independent parameters. Okay, so for directional, it will depend on a direction or a single parameter, right? And our animations will depend on that. Whereas Cartesian is more versatile, and it will depend on different parameters that we can set, so that will make it more flexible for us. So we're going to go with 2D freeform Cartesian here. Then on our parameters, we're going to select horizontal and vertical. Let's just set this vertical to 0 here. Okay, so we'll set horizontal and vertical. So horizontal to the left, vertical to the right. Remember, horizontal to the left, vertical to the right. Then we're going to add a motion field. So we're going to add 3 motion fields. 1, 2, 3. And then now, if you've brought in the animations, you will have the walk, the idle and run. For the walk animation, you'll find it in the link in the description. I'll link it in there. It wasn't in this pack. There was no walk animation in this pack, so I had my own walk animation that you'll find in the link in the description, so you can just download it and use it. So we'll come here and say idle, and then we'll click this idle. All right, then we'll come here and say walk. Remember, again, the walk animation will be in the description below, so you can just click the link in the description to get that walk animation. And then we'll have the run. So we're going to go for the run forward. Okay, so we can see here we've got this going to the left like that. But here's where it's going to change. So position Y, which in this case is our vertical, okay, we're going to change it that, okay, when our vertical is at 0.5, so when it's not, if you are using an analog stick, this is the case where you haven't pushed it all the way up, you will say it should, the character should be walking. Let's just change this position X, every position X, all of them should be at 0. Then we're going to say idle is when it's at 0, and then walk when it's at 0.5, and then run when it's at 1. So we've pushed it all the way forward. You've pushed your analog stick all the way forward. We'll not be able to test this on keyboard, because keyboard you can only push it down or up, so it will always be 1 or 0. So yeah, always 1 or 0. So when you're at 1, the player will be running, and when you're at 0.5, character will be walking, and when you're at 0, the character will be still. So that's a blend tree. So we have blended these 3 animations, and then we're using the vertical parameter to decide which animation to play, okay, based on the vertical input that we're going to be getting from our script. All right, let's get to scripting. So once that is done, we've set that up, we don't need it anymore. We're going to come back to player controls, animations here. Let's go to scripts, locomotion. And then inside in this folder, we're going to create a new script. So we want a different script that's going to handle our animations. We don't want everything to be clocked in one script. So we want to have different scripts. So we'll have a script for handling animations. We'll have a script for handling the movement. And then we'll have different scripts which do different things. We'll look at that more when we come to other things. But for now, let's create a new C# script. We're going to call this Animator. Let's say Animator. Let's say Animator controller. So we've got player locomotion, then we've got Animator controller. So the Animator controller is going to be very, very simple. It's going to be a very, very, very simple script. Let's just open it up. Okay. What it's going to do is that it's going to have, we don't need these two. We might need the start. We don't need the update though. So what it's going to have is just one variable here. So we're going to say again, serialize field, animator, animator. All right. And then because this animator controller is going to sit on the model, remember the model that we've just brought in, the character, this animator script is going to sit on that model. So what we're going to say here is animator is equal to get component animator, because it's sitting right on the very model that contains the component animator. In other words, this model FAA02 contains this animator component. So our script is going to sit right here, and all it has to do is to look here to find this, and then it will assign that to our animator variable. All right, let's get back here, and then we're going to say public, because we want to access it in another script. Okay, we want to access this script from our player locomotion script. All right, so we're going to say public void. It's going to return nothing. Then we're going to say set anim values. Right, set anim values. Now this function is going to contain two arguments that we're going to use to set those anim values. And what arguments are those? We need a way to get our vertical and our horizontal inputs from the player locomotion. So when we call this animation in the player when we call this function in the player locomotion script, we need to pass those two values into this animation. So we're going to now say inside these brackets float, right? We're going to say horizontal. Let's just say horizontal with a small h. Horizontal value. And then we're going to say plot vertical value. Right. So we're going to say float horizontal value, float vertical value. Then inside here, now what we're going to say is animator. We need that animator dot set float. So we are setting what float? We are setting this float. So we need to give it this very string. Okay. So you can actually copy it so that you don't make any mistake. Copy that string. So to copy it, you just click and then click again. You get into edit mode, copy, come back to your script, open it up. We need the name, so we're going to put double these the speech marks, and then you're going to vertical, and then we need now the value that we are setting to this vertical float parameter that we have in our animator. So what value are we setting? We're setting the vertical value. Okay, we're going to semicolon. Then you're also going to say animator dot set float again, and this time we're going to say horizontal, and then we're going to say horizontal value. So the value that we'll receive from the player locomotion will be assigned to these two, and then we'll pass them into these parameters in the animator, and our character will play the animation based on the value of vertical main. All right. So once that is done, we're going to save. That script is done for now. We're not going to touch it. We'll come back to it later. But for now, we'll come here, okay, to our locomotion script. So we're going to add one variable here. So let's say serialize field. Then we're going to say animator controller. Then we're going to say animator controller, like that. Okay. Now on start, here is where it's going to be different. On start, we're going to say animator controller is equal to get component in children animator controller, because this animator controller is going to be seated on our model, and our model is a child of the object where this locomotion script is sitting. All right, yeah. So once that is done like that, we're going to come where we've said move player here. We're going to come here and say, so we're going to come here and say, let's create a new function and say update animator values. Right, that's our function. Then down here, right before the apply gravity, we're going to say private void okay, update, okay, animator values. All right, nicely done like that. So there we go. Then what we're going to say now is we want now to update these values. So what we're going to say, let's just look at our notes here. So okay, so what we're going to say is actually it's also going to be a very simple function. We're going to say float, right? We're going to say float horizontal. So this is a local variable to this function. Horizontal input is going to be equal to. Now remember, we have an input in here called move input. If you see it under move player, we've got this here called move input. So we're going to do this but differently. So we're going to say move input dot x, because all we want is the move input. We want the value, because we want to pass that value to our animator controller function. Then we're going to say float vertical input is equals to move input dot y. All right, so let's put some comments here so that it's easier for everybody when you are writing this on your own. So we'll say assign a value from move input, which is us pressing the WASD keys to horizontal input and vertical input. Okay, so once we've assigned, we're going to come down here and say the handler, so the controller, we're going to say animator controller like that dot, right? Now we need to get our function, which was set anim values. That was our function, and then we're going to pass in those two, horizontal input and vertical input, like that. So now here, let's put a comment again and say call set anim values function to pass the vertical and horizontal values to our animator. Right. Once that is done, I'm going to save that. We're going to go back into Unity. Okay. Then we're going to come back into our scene here. We're going to come to our player, our animator controller. We're going to slap her there, that, and then we're going to now go to the game mode and make sure we're playing focused so that we can see this get assigned at start. So you can see that our player is playing the idle animation. Our animator has been set, but when we move, our animations aren't playing. Now, what could be causing that? What is causing that is that when you see down here, we've had this error for some time where it says on enable cannot find the player controls. So our player controls are not being enabled. So what we're going to do instead is to come back to our locomotion script. Then inside our on enable here, we're going to change it a bit. We're going to say if, right? If player controls is equal to no, which we are noticing that it is at the start of the game, we're going to do this. We're going to do that, but then we're going to also do this part. Okay, so if it is equal to no, we're going to do this part, then do that part. So just copy those two lines into this if statement. Then we say else. We're just going to do this part. Just in case we find ourselves in a situation where our player controls aren't no, we can just enable them. Okay, the disable shall stay the same. And now when we save that, we'll get rid of this error. Oh, anytime now, Unity, anytime now. So what we'll do now is when we play, okay, that error is gone and our player is able to play the animations. But look at that, our player isn't rotating. So now let's make the player rotate as the final thing that we do in this episode. Let's go. And also I've seen something else. When we stop running, our player slides. We don't want our player to slide. Okay, those are the two things we're going to fix. So we want our player to stop and our player to rotate. But how do we want our player to rotate? We want our player to rotate to the place where the camera is facing. So let's come into the script again. So we're going to come over here into our script, and then we're going to create a new function. Let's put it right here. So we're going to say private void rotate character. Private void rotate character. Then inside here we're going to now say vector3. Remember, vector3 is what we use in a 3D space. We're now going to say camera camera forward is what we're going to call it. Camera forward, and this is going to be equals to the camera transform that we had, that guy, dot forward. Okay, so we want to keep looking in the same direction as the camera. Then what we're going to say now is vector3 dot camera forward dot y is equals to 0, like it has said there, which is great. Then we could also normalize it. I think let's normalize it just to be safe. Then we're going to say if, right? We're going to say if camera forward not equal to vector3 dot 0, we're going to say Partenion, okay, Partenion, we're going to call it target rotation. I'm going to explain what Partenions are in a bit. Is equal to Partenion, okay, dot look rotation, and then we're going to say minus, not camera forward, but minus camera forward. So we're going to negate the camera forward. Okay, so once that is done, we're going to go to the next line here and say float rotation speed modifier. So the reason why I'm adding this is because I tested it, and when we just did add it, we were having a slight delay in the rotation of the character. So we just give it 5F here. Then we're going to say, oh, semicolon, I forgot semicolon. We're going to say float, okay, adjusted rotation speed. So I was using rotation speed only, but I think this is better. I tested it. We're going to say it's equals to rotation speed. Remember, we already created a variable called rotation speed. Okay, multiplied by the rotation speed modifier. Right? We're going to multiply it by rotation speed modifier. And then we're now going to say transform. So we're transforming this particular thing, the script where this is seated, dot rotation, okay, is equal to pertanion, okay, dot slurp, okay, and this is going to say transform dot rotation. We're going to also give it another argument of target rotation, and then we're going to give it adjusted rotation speed, and then we're going to multiply it by time dot delta time. That is what we're going to have that particular script there. So that will rotate the player. So now inside our update, before we call update animation values, we're going to say rotate character. All right? Then we're going to save. Then we're going to change one thing, because we want to make sure that our character doesn't slide. Okay, we want to make sure that our character doesn't slide when it comes to coming to a stop. So what we're going to say is we're going to go to the move player. So with the float horizontal input, and then float vertical input, and then with that, and then with the normalize, and then with the gravity. But now, before we go down there, we're going to say if, right? I'm going to say if vertical input is equal to 0, then we're going to say float. We want to make sure that our player comes to a stop quicker. We're going to say float DAC, let's call it DAC, like that. It's going to be equal to 10F. Okay, there are so many ways you can do this. I've decided to go with this. Then we're going to say velocity dot x is going to be equal to math f. Okay, and then dot move. I'll explain math f in the next video, but we're going to say move towards. Then we're going to say velocity dot x, okay, velocity dot x comma 0f on the y, and then we're going to say diac, okay, and then times time dot delta time. Then we can copy that. We don't have to type it again. Paste it there. Then we're going to say velocity dot y dot actually z, not y dot z, is equals to math f. Since the y we're already not moving on it, as you can see it's 0 there, then diac time dot delta time. So that should make our player stop quicker, other than that sliding that was happening. Okay, now we can come to the editor. We can return to the editor. Sorry, I want to hit play. What you'll notice is that we've got our player rotating towards the camera. So we made a mistake there. We do not want that. So instead Okay, so what we're going to do is, instead of negating it here, we're going to leave it as positive, because if we negate it, the character gets to face the camera. So we can now come back and say camera to forward dot normalize it, and then hit play. We can see now that the character faces the correct place, and we can run and rotate, but we still have the character sliding when the character comes to a stop. Okay, so I'm going to look into that. In the next episode, I'll give you guys a solution to make the character come to a stop. But for now, I'm thinking we end it here. So we have our character animated and moving, and we've just got to fix that sliding issue. I'll fix it in the next episode. I've been recording for some time. I recorded the 2 videos, the previous one and this one, both of them been recorded today. So we'll have to look at that in the next episode. But this is how we've animated our character. So the next thing that we're going to be doing in the next episode, after we fix this minor bug, will be to animate our right, back, left, and so on, because our forward is right now working and we're able to rotate our character based on the movement of the camera. We have a camera that's following the player, but in the next episode we're going to animate our strafe position, so left, right, our run animations actually for left, right, and back. All right, so if you've reached this far and you also just have the bug, which is the sliding to stop, that's not to worry, we'll fix it in the next episode. If you've got any questions or we've gone too fast for you, just leave comments down below, and I'll help you tackle the issues that you'll be facing. But now we are no longer having that boring cube, which is a boring capsule, which is a good thing. We are moving towards finishing the locomotion part of this tutorial series, and then we can get into other things. So if you enjoy this episode, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Keep showing all the support that you guys are showing, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.